Welcome to Leadership Traits Decoded. I'm Cynthia Kiriazis, Chief Experience Officer at the Culture Think Tank.
And I'm Drea Martin, Chief Operating Officer of the Crucible. We are collaborative partners at Performance Leadership Learning Lab, where we transform leadership intelligence into return-driven action.
Today, we're unpacking the leadership traits essential for building, investing in, and scaling successful companies. Our insights come directly from data-driven metrics within our platform's solution. So let's dive in. Hi, Drea.
How are you?
I'm good.
Great.
I am feeling really good after all the colds, and I am kind of very excited about today's topic because I'm curious to hear how you're going to handle both sides of this. But I'm always curious. You always surprise me.
Are you feeling optimistic about today's topic?
I am feeling optimistic about today's topic. That is so nice of you to bring that up because today's topic is optimism. So excellent segue, Andrea. So one of the Crucible's Leadership 8 traits is optimism. So I thought maybe that would be a good one to begin with by defining optimism, because, that could mean a lot of things to different people and different descriptions. We know in general what optimism is. Then I'd like to know, what are the benefits of having optimism as a strong trait?
Definitely. Yeah, we can start with the definition. So optimism, especially within this kind of investor-backed space, is really that capacity to maintain a forward-looking, constructive outlook.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. A forward-looking, constructive outlook. Okay, go ahead.
So it makes it it shows how it can be a productive trait.
Yes.
Versus maybe when you think about optimism as blind faith in something being possible or whatever it is. This is kind of a nice way to bring it back to the world and the space that we work in. Yeah, benefits, I'm sure you can easily imagine then, is that in the face of challenges, you probably want someone who's able to maintain that forward-looking, constructive outlook that can inspire more of that persistence and confidence in others. What do you think about that? Any benefits of optimism that you'd want to add?
I think inspiration. I think taking something that somebody sees in one way and showing them that, yes, there are other ways. There's the color blue, and then there's the color green blue, and then there's the color yellow blue, and they're all different. And they're used in different situations in paint or fabric or whatever. But showing them that, yes, you can be optimistic, but perhaps you can step back and say, maybe I need to show them something that may not feel or be something that they would be optimistic about without, as I said, and I do not mean this disparagingly, but without being quote unquote Debbie Downer. And I don't mean to disparage anybody whose name is Debbie. The truth is, if somebody comes from the position of thinking everything is wonderful, it's a matter of continuity, right? I mean, it's a matter of scale. If you're 100% optimistic all the time, then you are going to miss situations that arise that you hadn't thought of or prepared for, suffer the consequences with. So I get that.
It's interesting, though. Do you think that just because someone is optimistic, it means that they can be blindsided then by potential situations that they aren't maybe seeing the severity of them, or kind of keeping a positive perspective?
Totally. Because if somebody believes, you believe that too?
I do. I want to hear your explanation though.
Okay. If you think about somebody who has a high optimistic approach, to me, that means, okay, and this could be my bias, you can tell me, but to me, that means, okay, everything they're saying is likely true, or it is, I know it to be true, but my bias is to say, but there is another side of true. Whatever goes up must come down. It's not to say that it's going to go down, but it's stepping back and looking at it more strategically in a balanced way helps you see what could be roadblocks or surprises or unanticipated things that might come up, so that the discussion can open up about that kind of thing, right? More of a, let's just say, for lack of a better word, realistic viewpoint around the same subject this person is talking about, but is so optimistic wherever they are on the scale that somebody needs to have them step back for a minute to see, how are they thinking if this doesn't work exactly that way? Who will it affect? How long will it be? What will it cost? I don't know, something like that. And it might be not that detailed. It might just be, well, what would happen if XYZ took place? And this person goes, oh, well, that's not going to happen. Or, oh, well, I never thought of that, and opening the discussion.
It's interesting. I haven't thought about optimism in such great contrast to being like accepting reality or like the potential that things are out of control and that things can be. That's interesting. I've definitely been someone who's been described as optimistic in the past. However, I think there's a great distinction between optimism and being naive or
Mm,
like unaware, or I don't know. I think that the ability to keep a positive forward-looking position and to understand and even maybe trust that a situation is navigatable and that like you will get through the situation that you're in and you will
mm.
face the challenges that come ahead and still persevere feels different compared to the way you're describing optimism as a potential fault of like overly optimistic. But I see that that can exist as well. So I guess it's an interesting I guess the traits around optimism are very important because having that extra perspective and keeping in mind all the other things that can be at play, even if you are still optimistic,
Yes, yes. And I,
allows there
and
to be that nuance.
I wasn't, if I came off this way, I wasn't saying that somebody listening to an optimistic person would say this back as a matter of fact. I'm saying they could open the discussion with, well, let's consider a different scenario.
Yeah,
What if XYZ? What if ABC? Just to, if nothing else, open a discussion around how and a communication that shows I understand what you're saying. Let's just, for the sake of it, just kind of look at it and see what could happen going forward if it was really successful, or what could happen going forward if it was not as successful as we wanted.
definitely.
Those two scenarios. I think I find that with sales individuals who are responsible for sale that do a really good job will really look at each piece of it because they wish to be prepared to engage in the discussion and to show the person they're talking to that there is this other side, or there could be this other side. Let's look at the whole picture. Let's step back and look at the whole picture about this or that. To me, it's always important to at least think about or have a catalyst to have you think about the other side if you don't naturally think about it, because
Definitely.
it's not your role, it's not your natural tendency, it's not a strength trait to look at the other side. I think that's the story. The story is that we always need to communicate and without judgment try to open the discussion.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's my favorite part about having information. Like, why take an assessment? Why understand what these values are? So it opens those doors to actually having those conversations, to actually looking at what perspectives am I not considering? What am I not naturally inclined towards? So that then you can make sure that there are those people who are checking you, that are on your team, that can make sure that the entire scope is being considered, or that you're not losing out on certain opportunities or
Oh,
different pathways that you
yeah.
could take that could really change things or move things forward.
Okay, then. Well, I'm going to say I optimistically believe that our listeners gained quite a bit of information around this particular trait.
I wonder, how would you talk to someone with super low optimism and tell them they could develop? That's the one thing I want to make sure we also pick your brain on when it comes to development. It's a difficult one. I think it's
Well,
to
okay, so
understand
if they have a
it.
negative feeling or approach or regular thing, regular behaviors around that, they didn't get there overnight or by themselves. So what I do is I do the same thing in reverse. I say, okay, so you don't think this is going to work, and I understand what you're saying. Let's put on a different hat and say, what if that happened? And I'll give them scenario one, and I'll give them scenario two, and if they haven't run out screaming, I'll give them scenario three, right? To see which of those resonated. I'll give them maybe a work issue, a personal issue, or an individual issue. And they have difficulty in stopping for a moment to think about that. But I try to prepare them for there's no right or wrong answer here. I just want us to give some thought about if this scenario happened to happen. How would you think about it? What words would you use? That kind of thing, because they won't go there naturally. But more times than not, it gives someone a moment to pause, whether they believe me or not. It gives them a moment to pause to think about, okay, I haven't really thought about that. Example, you buy tech stocks because they're hot and you're really happy about that and you're optimistic they're going to do well. And 2 days later, they tank. Some people don't think about that risk for something like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I like that. So it's this balancing their realism maybe with hope, or their
Yes,
pessimism with
yes.
other ideas, or the potential even for other opportunities, or maybe for even some light.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that they take that type of information when I say, let's do scenario one, two, three, whatever. I think that they take that opportunity for the first time to think about that, and they may not dwell on it, But if, for whatever reason, one of those types of scenarios fell upon them, they could call back to say, I was really optimistic about this for these reasons, but now I understand what happened.
Mm.
And therefore giving themselves their own learning, if you will, their own lessons, so to speak, just to kind of open their mind. I'm not asking them to stop being an optimist. I'm just saying, well, let's look at both of them and you just continue being who you are. Let's at least talk about it.
Right.
Okay. Go ahead. Do you have a takeaway?
Sure. I think, well, my takeaway, and I'm deeply rooted in this one, is optimism doesn't mean blind positivity, but that this ability to, no matter where you fall on that scale of optimism, to be able to take a step back, utilize other insights, and see possibilities and understand potential of different scenarios is probably the key for no matter what your optimism score is, being able to see that is kind of the strength in this.
Okay, and I would say that I agree with 100% with everything you just said, because that is how I feel also. I just didn't and don't normally say it as eloquently as you do. But yes, I would agree with that. It gives them the option. It gives them the another opportunity to look at it through a different lens. That's all.
I like that. Wonderful.
Okay, awesome, lady. Guess I'll see you next time.
Sounds great. Thanks.
Bye. Thanks for listening to this episode of Leadership Traits Decoded. You'll be able to find all our episodes on the Performance Leadership Learning Lab website at www.pllab.com, or you can listen on your favorite streaming platform.
We'll be back soon to explore the next essential trait. Until then, feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn if you have any questions or ideas.